Hello and welcome to another episode of Earth911's Sustainability in Your Ear, the podcast conversation about accelerating the transition to a sustainable carbon neutral society. I'm your host, Mitch Ratcliffe. Thanks for joining the conversation today. Earth Day 2023, which is coming on April 22nd, marks the 53rd year that people have come out into the streets to rally for planetary responsibility, join park and environmental cleanups, and participate in climate learning events. The first Earth Day was the largest public demonstration in history as of that time. And this year, Earth Day will continue its recent focus on investing in our planet. And a key part of the celebration will be the Great Global Cleanup, a worldwide campaign to raise awareness about food waste's heavy toll on the planet. Everyone can get involved, and many cities are hosting multiple events. You can find a map of the events and information about how to participate at earthday.org. Earth Day is one word, no dash, no space, earthday.org. And we're joined today by Michael Karapetian. He is the Great Global Cleanup Campaign Coordinator at the Earth Day Network. This year, the Great Global Cleanup will tackle how to improve the management of waste, particularly food waste, as I mentioned. And the event gives everyone, individuals and organizations, quote, the opportunity to see the positive, tangible impacts of their actions on our environment and in the fight to create a waste-free world, unquote. Let's get everyone out and participating. We've got a couple of weeks to get ready. You can learn more about Earth Day 2023 at earthday.org. Welcome to the show, Michael. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Mitch. Thank you for having me on.
Well, hey, thank you for your work at the Earth Day Network. It's important. The Great Global Cleanup's been going on for decades now. What are some of the notable results that you all have created in the past before we get to what's going on in 2023?
Yeah, absolutely. So Earth Day Network, we've been doing cleanups ever since we were founded back in 1970. But most notably, we've really taken this program and really focused on making it a global effort. And through that, we try to connect with partners all over the world so that they feel like their efforts that they are doing in their own communities, which are huge, are connected to a global movement, and they can see that movement all across the world. And even last year, I could just give you some data. Last year, we had 158 million pounds of trash picked up, with 13.5 million volunteers activated.
That's great.
Yeah.
You know, and if you go to the Earth Day site, you can see on the map that this is a spreading movement. But, it's still largely concentrated in the global north. How are you doing outreach to get into the global south and particularly to emerging economies?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's just by nature because, Earth Day Network, we're located in Washington, D.C., so it makes sense that our immediate network would be in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
But we were slowly expanding that. We have, we have partners in Europe. Let's Do It World. We work heavily with them, and they have a lot of connections all over the world. Speaking of the global south, it's one of those tricky things. We have a team in India.
Mm-hmm.
that does a lot of work for us, and they do a lot of cleanups. That is huge. But one of the challenges that faces them is being able to record that data, or being able to, use our map online, so that that data oftentimes doesn't get there, or it has to be sent, and it takes a while because it would have to be someone in DC to upload that, because there's just restrictions in those areas.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I don't want to get into Indian politics too much, but I understand that that's pretty complicated. But you can see in the map that there's kind of a burst of activity there, and it's growing year over year, because I've been watching this for a long time. What are some of the events that are on tap for this year? Are there local events you're really excited about?
Oh yeah, definitely. We've been trying to ramp up our efforts with cleanups that we are more hands-on with.
Mm-hmm.
And one that I am very excited about is what we're doing with one of our partners in Hawaii. Their name is Kanu Hawaii, and they do great work. What they're really focusing on doing is trying to take people who are tourists and then coming to Hawaii, to be able to turn them into volunteers, and giving them that opportunity to say, oh, there's all these volunteer events that are happening in
Right.
Hawaii. Like, while you're here, why not do a beach cleanup? And beach cleanups are fun, right? So there's a lot of events happening. There's also a huge dive event that's happening this year. And dive cleanups are really cool.
So also in Hawaii.
Yes, also Hawaii.
Cool. Now, are there online events going on for people who don't have a local cleanup going on? What can you do if you're just sitting at home and would like to participate in Earth Day but aren't going out?
Yeah, absolutely. If if you're sitting at home and well, I'll plug this first. If you're sitting at
Okay.
home and you still want to go outside and do a cleanup, you could absolutely do a cleanup by yourself. If that's something you want to do, we do have a toolkit and some resources. But go out and make your neighborhood a little bit better if you can do that. If not, you can also get involved in changing your life choices. I know we're going to talk a little bit more about that later. But you can also go online to earthday.org and check out our page. That's Earth Day 2023
Hmm.
and see what's going on there. There's a lot of different ways you can get involved, whether it's virtual events or, you know, live streams and things like that.
So learning and collaboration to talk about cleanups in the area that you might do later in the year too.
Yes. Yes, you can. We have plenty of resources to help you find those people in your community to connect with and create those cleanups later down on the road.
Now, are there hashtags or other identifiers that you can use in social to follow along if you don't want to do a search that day and see what's going on?
Yeah, yeah. On we have we're earthday.org on pretty much every platform. And you
Hmm.
can also use the hashtag Great Global Cleanup and you can see everything that's going on there.
So, and Great Global Cleanup's all one word, right? It's not a dash.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh
Cool.
yeah, all one word.
Thanks. I try to be very specific about that because people are typing after listening to us talk. Now, how do you add your own local story and share it with the global audience if you're interested in doing that?
Yeah, so if you have if you're doing a cleanup, we have a few different options. You can go to earthday.org/cleanup, and on there you have the option to register a cleanup.
Hmm.
And that is like if the cleanup, you're planning cleanup and you want people to join you, you can put it on the map wherever you're at. Just fill out we have a short survey. It's pretty easy, and you can everyone on the map can see that a cleanup is happening there and come join you.
Hmm.
You can also, if your cleanup is already done, we have an option to share your cleanup, and then we can get that data and see like the impact that you created and the amount of trash you picked up.
Okay,
Um,
so it does ask that kind of information. Does it ask
yeah,
about what kind of trash you picked up too?
yes, we that is one of the challenges we're trying to figure out the best way to report that data. But yeah, on there you can share more about the kind of trash you picked up. We actually asked that question. But it's interesting trying to a lot of people do different things when
Sure.
yeah.
Well, now the other thing I noticed is there's some that are private cleanups. And what's the purpose of putting a private cleanup on the map? Does it also generate invites that go out to people that you can share and still participate in the global movement?
So doing a private cleanup is, as we like to say, everyone likes their name in the newspaper, right? So the map is great because you really feel that connection to a global movement. And even if it's just a private cleanup where it's just you and your buddies going out doing an event, and you still want to put it on the map, that's great, and we get to see that information and that data. But then no one else can, right? So you can you can still put it on the map and be part of the Great Global Cleanup, and we can see your photos if you choose to share those. But it just prevents people from going to join your cleanup.
Now, you run the Great Global Cleanup Program, and a lot of it is focused on plastic pollution. This is
Yes.
a one-day event, but what is your guidance? What is your advice for folks who want to make a difference in plastic pollution all year long?
Yeah, plastic pollution is a huge issue, and with the Great Global Cleanup, our goal is really to rid the world of waste and plastic pollution for good. One of the, I mean, when while doing cleanups, and I mean, you'll notice most of it is plastic. If it's not
Mhm.
cigarette butts, which is also plastic.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, throughout the whole year, I mean, you can the we like to say that cleanups, they're not the end all be all solution, but they are one of the most fun ways to get involved, and you can do that all year round. Um, and outside of that, plastic pollution, oftentimes it seems like this is a very daunting issue to face when we're talking millions of pounds of trash, which is just fathomable to think about. Um, but there is ways you can can, create a dent and in this issue. And that is like looking at your own personal life and figuring out what can I do to reduce single use plastic. And it really comes down to noticing it. Growing up, I never really never really noticed, the amount of trash in the environment until I started doing cleanups. And once you start to realize this and you start to realize it in your own life, you can see, oh, I don't need to get a plastic water bottle today. I can buy a
Right.
better quality one. And then all of a sudden you start buying, products that are more sustainable. If you're able to do that, then oftentimes you end up choosing healthier choices and choices that are just better for quality of life.
Well, you know what I found when I've done cleanups is it's seeing all the stuff, the pollution that we leave around in the environment. You think the next time you are considering buying something like it, that image comes back to mind. And so plastic bottles or uh, dog poop bags seems to
Yeah,
be, I mean, I don't know why people think it's a good idea to pick up dog poop in a bag, tie the bag and leave it there. That
yeah,
seems crazy to me. But those kinds of insights can inform our actions all year long. It's a really productive use of an afternoon.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And it really is like when you go out there and you see this stuff, it's like, do I really need to have all these items in my life?
Yeah.
And sometimes it is like there is no other option right now, right? And that's the unfortunate truth. We've really created a society that's addicted to plastics, and we have to give credit where credit is due. Plastics have helped us in so many ways, but we've become so dependent on them, and now we've created this ocean full of plastic.
Well, that's a really interesting way of putting it because what we do as a species, right, is really rush into new stuff, and then we have to think about how to manage and use it appropriately later on once we start to recognize the impact. And I think that's what's so powerful about Earth Day is even though it's this one day of the year, it focuses you on the environment in such a way that changes your relationship with it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I think that's actually a really interesting point about how we as humans rush into stuff.
Hmm.
And I'm just thinking about everything that as I mean, maybe it's just, living in the 21st century, but everything new that comes up, we all rush into it. And now we're like, I mean, we don't need to take conversation this way, but thinking about social media and how, that's just like
Bitcoin,
an example, right?
the metaverse, I mean, we do love our fads.
Yeah,
Well, hey, let's take a quick commercial break. We're going to be right back.
sounds good.
And we are back to continue talking about Earth Day 2023 with Michael Karapetian. He is the Great Global Cleanup Campaign Coordinator at Earth Day Network. That's quite a title, kind of
Yes.
a alliterative title, too. Now, Michael, if somebody's done a cleanup, and whether on their own or in a group, what should they do with the materials they collect? What's your advice for getting rid of the stuff you pick up?
Yeah. That's actually a funny question. I'll tell you a story real quick because in the early days of running the campaign, a couple of my coworkers and we had an ambassador. We went out to a park and we did a cleanup. We didn't tell anyone we were going to do a cleanup because there was four of us, right?
Hmm.
And this park was trashed. It was, I think people just went camping there and did not clean up after themselves. It was a mess. And so we did clean up and we ended up coming back with four large bags of trash. And we go to the guy who's like running one of the shops there. And he was furious with us because we did this cleanup and he had nowhere to put the trash. And we were like, we could just put it. He was like, we have one trash can. Like, what do you mean?
Right.
Like,
We're going to get charged now.
yeah. And so that's something I never thought I would run into because we just cleaned up this guy's park and he was like so mad at us. So as saying that, if you're gonna do a cleanup, it is always good to coordinate with who you're working with and the place you're working at. If you're just cleaning up your neighborhood, it's probably not likely, but if you're doing a large scale cleanup, definitely make sure you coordinate with local waste management so that maybe they'll bring a dumpster, maybe
Mhm.
they'll do something for you so that you can be able to properly dispose of the trash because um, there's nothing worse than doing a cleanup and then the trash has nowhere to go.
So a little planning is a good idea.
Oh, definitely, definitely. Especially if it's going to be a big one, you're bringing 10 people out. Just having a game plan where that trash is going to go. And also think about if you want to sort the trash and
Mhm.
recycle it. Sometimes the plastic has just been out there too long where it's not going to be recycled. But sometimes you can take that glass and that aluminum and maybe even sometimes the water bottles, little plastic bottles,
Right.
and sort them out and get them recycled, which is always a good thing.
Well, hopefully we're on the verge of some better recycling technology that'll even take care of those older bottles. But
Yeah.
it is important not just to throw this into the landfill if you can, but to send it to somebody who's going to recycle and use it. Now, Earth Day, once the cleanup is over, or at least in the sense of, Earth Day cleanup, how do you suggest people stay involved with protecting the environment year round? I know you have a variety of programs. So, for instance, this year's theme is invest in the planet. What should people do to invest in the planet?
Yeah, definitely. That is our theme for 2023. And I think what's interesting is when we say invest in our planet, we're really focusing on what can companies and businesses do
Mhm.
to be more sustainable, to use less plastic, to stand up for what they believe in, and make those choices that are better for long term development. And it's really cool because I mean, in this position, I've had the privilege of being able to meet a lot of different entrepreneurs who are really trying to tackle these issues. And their focus is not on, you know, bringing as much money in as possible, though I'm sure they would love that. But it's more about how can we create a product that works, that lasts a long time, that solves some of these issues that we see.
Do
Um,
you all have resources for business that wants to start to learn about this and get engaged with trying to reduce their their wastefulness?
I'm not sure if we have resources for specifically for businesses,
Mhm.
though that is a fantastic idea. But I do know we have a lot of resources on the website about this, and plenty of blogs, and you know if you go to earthday.org, you can see a lot of information there.
Well, now you also have the End Plastic Pollution Program, which is a year-round event. How do people get involved in that?
Yeah, so Earth Day is like our flagship event. Obviously,
Mhm.
that's the name of our organization. But yeah, we do work all year round, and we do cleanups all year round. So you can do a cleanup on Earth Day, but you can do one every single day after that, and plenty of our ambassadors do. Plenty of people do. Our map goes on all year round. So you can get involved in that, but there's also becoming an advocate, and
Mhm.
that's what I think cleanups are really good at doing, because sometimes these issues are divided politically,
Right.
unfortunately, but everyone can take a look at a river that's polluted and say that is not a good thing. And so you can come and clean it up. And a lot of people who are weary about the environmental movement, for whatever reason, do a cleanup, and they're like, wait a minute, I need to do more than just this cleanup.
The work
And
isn't
so
done.
yeah, the work is not done, and the unfortunate part is, and I hear this from so many of our partners, they do these cleanups in these same spots every year or every like month, and the amount of trash does not get any less, which is just so unfortunate, right? So becoming an advocate outside of just doing the cleanups, which is emailing your
Mhm.
representatives and choosing to buy from businesses, that's a difficult thing, right? But choosing to buy from businesses that are more sustainable, wherever you can. Sometimes it's a
Well,
tough choice, but yeah,
absolutely. Well, one of the areas where that is most pressing is fast fashion, where the textiles involved are largely plastic too.
yeah,
We don't think of it that way most of the time, but it accounts for 10% of global emissions because of how much stuff we're just single using our way through. What are you doing to raise awareness about fast fashion this year?
yeah. So we have a whole campaign dedicated to it called Fashion for the Earth.
Hmm.
And in that we try to raise awareness about the fast fashion industry, and try to talk about how can we be you know how can we step away from that. And now the unfortunate thing is, I mean, you look at Shein, which is the poster child for terrible fast fashion. um and I mean, I have to admit the deals are good. And, it's they're good deals, but the unfortunate thing is like you got to think about the impact that being part of that really causes, right? And so I love the movement that, a lot of people in my generation, they they go for fast fashion, but a lot of them are also like they thrift. And
Yeah.
thrifting is great. Thrifting is a great way to, take some of these pieces and give them an extra long life. I also recommend taking a look at your own closet and saying, do I really need another piece of clothing? What have
Mhm.
I not worn in here? How can I how can I sell some of this stuff to a thrift store and get some extra money in my wallet? Like I don't need all these clothes, right? And That's just one way I think about it, is like looking at what you have. One of our ambassadors said this, and it really struck a chord with me. Is the most sustainable way, or excuse me, the what did she say? It was the most sustainable thing, or the most sustainable items you have are the ones you already own,
Yeah,
right? So you don't need to buy
exactly.
sustainable items. You can just use what you already have.
Just making it last longer is one of the most important things we can do. I mean, relative to the embodied carbon in the product in the first place, plus the fact that it could just end up in a landfill. Now, you mentioned the politicization. It's not an easy word to say. Uh, of all of this activity. It's very much embodied in the debate over the ESG or a sustainability reporting movement. Has Earth Day Network taken a position about the value of ESG reporting and standards in business?
Yeah, absolutely. That is especially with the invest in our planet, the theme for this year, that is something we're calling for, is for companies to be more transparent about this.
Mhm.
And there is a lot of greenwashing that happens, as I'm sure you're aware. And the more you're around it, the more you roll your eyes every time you see it. Um, and yeah, that is something we're definitely calling for businesses to do, and something we're advocating for. And when we have the ability to talk to heads of state or government officials, that is something that we are really really advocating for. Is for ESG standards to go up, and yeah, for more sustainable business practices to take place.
Do you do things to celebrate companies that do the right thing? I never really thought about it, but as you were speaking, I was reflecting back on some Earth Day events I've attended where business was very much involved, and when they did the right thing, got a lot of kudos.
Yeah, definitely. That is something that is important to us, is celebrating those wins, because they're huge, right?
Mhm.
And you need to celebrate these wins, even if there's a whole mountain of trash you still have to sort through, right? So yeah, we definitely do celebrate those wins, and that's something that's the reason I get so excited to talk to these entrepreneurs who are doing these amazing things. Is Because it's great to celebrate them. It's great to
Mhm.
hear what they're doing and how they're flipping the status quo on its head.
Now, one of the most tangible things that you do is you have the Canopy Project. It's a 13-year-old tree planting program. How many trees have been planted, and what are some of the recent projects you've launched around tree planting?
Yeah, so with the Canopy Project, we've planted millions of trees
Hmm.
all over the world. One of the programs that we're working a lot on right now that is really exciting is we're working in the Sundarbans region in India, and we're doing a huge mangrove planting. And so for we have a $1 plants a tree, and we're working with our local partners out there. Um, and uh, and it's awesome. It's also a huge community event for them, because the whole community gets involved in it.
Well,
And
how did that dollar per tree? It also has an economic impact in those communities. So that actually creates jobs, doesn't it?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, the money that goes to that, the tree farms that we work with, the partners we work with, the people who are planting the trees,
Hmm.
they all get paid for that work, and it's great. It provides money for the economy. It does great for the environment, and that's something that I think is really important to recognize, because as we try to call for more sustainable solutions, a lot of times people are afraid of the jobs that can be lost in the
Yeah.
process. But I think it's important to remember that as we shift, the jobs that are created are going to be a huge part in whatever solution is, whether it's planting trees or stepping away from fossil fuels, you know, there needs to be entrepreneurs, there needs to be jobs created to manage a new society that's sustainable.
Well, and I think that's what's important about how Earth Day sort of encapsulates this poly shift, the
Mhm.
many different changes that we're in the midst of as we transition to a sustainable economy. What can our listeners do right now, today, when they listen to this show to get ready for Earth Day 2023? What should they do?
Yeah. So, well, there's a few things. I would say, since I run the Greg Little Cleanup, I'm a little biased. Go to earthday.org/cleanup. We have a huge map there. Take a look at it. We have the green dots on there, cleanups that you can join right now. And if not, I say set up your own cleanup. We have all the resources there. Um, if not that, I say just take a look at, what resources are you using in your life, and what can you live without? What single use plastic can you let go of? What
Right.
businesses can you support? How can you shape your life? And oftentimes when you do these changes, it is more economical. It is, a healthier style of living that is less expensive. Um, so I recommend taking a look at that and seeing that and realizing that you can make a shift today in your own community. And what's great about is that you make it a shift in your own life and in your own community. It adds to that global movement that is happening. And as however small it be, the work is not in vain. We are all working together to, you know, create a create a new sustainable world, create a waste-free world.
Words to live by. Michael, I want to thank you for taking time to talk with us today.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much, Mitch. Appreciate it.
We've been talking with Michael Karapetian of the Earth Day Network about Earth Day 2023 and the Great Global Cleanup. You can explore local events on an easy-to-use map at earthday.org/cleanup and think about adding your own event, whether it's scheduled for April 22nd or any other day during the year. Earth Day represents a one-day effort to raise awareness about the environmental responsibility we need to embrace every day, all year long. Getting out into a park or onto a beach can be a wake-up call about plastic pollution in particular. Humans do have a funny relationship with plastics as a material. It has transformed packaging and food storage, for example, but when we encounter and use it in that context, it seems like a miracle material that can turn into, when we don't manage it responsibly, a mess, a global blight that poisons our environment. There's no reason that humans or any other species should be subjected to consuming the equivalent of a credit card's worth of microplastics every week because of the ubiquity of plastic pollution. We can change this. So let's make Earth Day 2023 the day we all recognize that convenience comes with responsibility. It's not just use it, toss it, and forget it. We have to keep this stuff cycling through our economy and out of the environment. So I hope you'll take a moment to share this podcast, get people excited about Earth Day or any of our other interviews. Would you take a moment to write a review on your favorite podcast platform to help your neighbors find sustainability in your ear? You folks are the amplifiers that spread more ideas to create less waste. So please tell your friends, family, and coworkers they can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, or any of the other places that they might go looking for podcast goodness. Thank you so much for your support, folks. I'm Mitch Ratcliffe. This is Earth911, and we will be back with another innovator interview soon. In the meantime, take care of yourself, take care of one another, and let's all take care of this beautiful planet of ours. Have a green day.